Guess
Well, we're
what?
back.
Hey, and I can hear you guys now.
We are back.
Yeah. I,
Oh,
my granddaughter got in here today when Nota was here, and she started pulling all over all these controls on my desk. And I think that's what she did. She messed it all up. You know.
well, that's it.
All right.
Good.
So you talk. I gotta adjust
Uh,
these lights.
okay, we're gonna work on getting Sergio situated over there. Um, well, let me tell you what. It was windy out today on the water. That's a understatement. But yeah, today it was too windy. My spot lock wouldn't hold me. I had to throw the anchor out. Even that was dragging when I got a good net full of bait. But got it done. Definitely have to be careful now with the clients. You know, 'cause you got to realize the whole insurance thing and the dangers and stuff like that. I'm not taking them out into open waters or anything of that nature. When it's windy like that, most of the time I'll cancel. It was the only day they could go.
That looks better.
So yes,
All right.
you know, so we went and but I kept them all, you know, in backwaters. They never seen any waves whatsoever.
It was
And
rough though. Man, it was
it was
blowing
it
at
was
least over here. It
brutal.
was blowing 30 miles an hour.
It gusted this morning when I was catching bait. It started gusting to 37, and yeah, it was brutal out there at that point. But like I was saying, I don't take my customers out in that. I might deal with that to get bait sometimes, but you know, you got to be really careful. I ended up having to. I can't remember the last time I had to break out the anchor, but I had to break out the anchor this morning because the spot lock, the trolling motor wasn't strong enough to hold me.
Oh, I believe
Unfortunately,
it. I
yeah,
mean, I'm telling you, the trees were
it was
whipping in our
ripping.
house.
It was ripping, and it was blowing like 27:30, and then at one time, man, when I was catching bait, I finally got them chummed up, and it started gusting to 37, and wow, man, it was something else.
Now, did you have a low tide? How was the tide?
Um, yeah, tide was low tide. It was going out, so it was actually going the same direction as the wind, uh, and so that wasn't helping anything either for trying to hold position. And then 10 o'clock, I think it was, yeah, right about 10, 9:50 was low tide, which wasn't that low. The only reason why it went lower than it should have was the wind was blew it out, you
Well,
know. And people got to realize that too. When you look at tide charts, that wind can change that by a foot or a foot and a half, and change the time up to 2 hours sometimes.
so I was thinking about you. That's why I called this afternoon because I said, man, I was concerned with that kind of weather.
Yeah, it was definitely brutal. I got into this one little area that's really a small cove, and it's just completely like it's very small, and it was great because then the one daughter wasn't happy at first, and then when we got in there, it blocked all the wind, and with that wind blocked, when the sun, it was nice out. So right away, there she was. She didn't care about fishing. She wanted to lay out and get a suntan.
Oh, God.
Okay, so when I got into that area, she actually didn't want to leave. Like she didn't care about. I don't care if the fish stop biting here. This is perfect for her. But the dad and the mom, they were like, no, we're out here to catch fish.
Let me try to get this light fixed.
All right, but the bite was. I had to work today. The bite was a little tough. Um, of course, it depends on where you're fishing, but the spots I was fishing, excuse me, the spots I've been fishing, that cold snap definitely in the morning pushed the fish around, slowed them down a little bit, and then right at the end of the trip, you know, the dad really wanted to get a snook, and I didn't want to run to weeding because it was just way too much to take four people out in that kind of condition.
Oh, God, no.
You know, so I didn't run to weeding, and he really wanted a snook, and I had one spot. We were fishing, we were getting trout, and I said, "Look, I'm going to back up about 100 feet before we leave." It was the end of the trip. I said, "There's a deep hole." I said, "Sometimes a snook, when it gets cold out overnight, they'll go in this deep hole." Unbelievable. Basically, backed up. A bird. This is kind of funny. A bird pooped. Most of it landed in the water, but one or two drops landed on his shoulder. He goes, "Oh man, I just got pooped on." So I wiped it off for him. Within 30 seconds after that, he nailed a 25-inch snook, and then another one, and I was like, well, there's the good luck.
There you go.
But it worked out good. It kind of was nice that I said to him, hey, before we leave the spot, we're going to back up 100 feet. There's a little deep hole. I said the snook will be laying in there. And within 2 minutes, he had his snook.
Wow. That's good.
So that worked out nice.
Well, I think it says tomorrow's still not going to be too good. A little better on Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday's supposed to be pretty decent. Tomorrow I got a doctor's appointment, so I got one guy that wants to go the afternoon, but I need a break. I'm gonna tell him to go a different time.
Yeah, I don't blame you, man. And Hota came over today, and we had Ken Burke, since you were on the charter, and
Right.
we did a little thing, a fishing academy. So I think we got enough now to cover us for a couple of months. So every other week we'll have something out there. And
Right.
now we're going to be on the air next Monday, but then the following Monday we're not, because Hota's out of the country.
Okay,
So the 24th we're here, but Hota comes back the 8th of April.
okay, so no show on the 31st.
Yeah.
You're saying, right?
Right. Is that so? Just 2 Mondays?
Let me think here, because today is the 17th.
The 24th.
24th, is he gone or are we
No.
gonna show?
Like
Next Monday.
Next Monday he's here.
Okay,
We'll
so
do
there's
a
a
show.
show.
But then he leaves after, and he doesn't come back till the 8th.
Okay, so basically the 31st and the 7th is no show.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. So no
It is.
show. Yeah.
The 31st and the 7th.
Two nights. Yeah.
Hopefully everybody gets that. Mark
And
that
we'll
down on
just
your
have to
calendar.
say it next week. Make sure that we
Yeah.
say it.
Yeah, because I hate when people don't know and they tune in and wait, and we don't want to do that to you. So we're trying to give you some notice. So
So
the 31st and April 7th, no show.
And I'm writing it down, so we'll say it
Right.
again next week and make sure I don't forget.
If you're looking for bait, it's deep, 12 to 15 feet of water. That's what's happening right now for bait. You're looking at bridges, range markers, stuff of that nature. If you don't boat a lot,
How bad was the seas out there?
I was gonna say if you don't boat a lot, don't do what I did today. I've been doing it a long time and I got a lot of experience, and things can go wrong pretty quickly, and they actually did go wrong for me this morning. But my one throw of the net, I got a lot of bait in it. It acts like a parachute. The trolling motor wasn't able to hold me, so I was anchored. When I parachuted all that bait, it broke my anchor free, so I started drifting back towards pylons.
Ooh.
So I had to put my boat, start my boat up, put it just in gear, get the net real close to the boat, keep it out of the motor. There's a lot going on, and if you don't have the experience, then don't
do it.
Don't do it. There's a lot of people that would have been messed up this morning if they were in the situation I was in this morning.
Yeah. Now next Monday night we're going to have the general manager from Carver, and Carver's owned by Covercraft. Covercraft. They're the ones who make all the boat covers.
Okay.
Carver does, and then the sister company makes all the seat covers and all the fancy stuff for trucks and cars. And I started using their cover, and I thought I'll bring him on board so he can explain about the different materials and a little, for about 15, 20 minutes. One of the things, the advantage that they have is, man, they can make a boat cover a lot cheaper than you can buy it, having it made, somewhere else around here.
Right.
From what I can see.
So Alejandro says that if you guys see someone wade fishing at Cypress Point Park tomorrow, I guess it's him. And I tell you what, actually the last time I fished that place was wade fishing. I mean, I've gone there in the boat quite a bit, but the last time I wade fished that, it was a pretty cool experience. Me and this younger guy I was trying to mentor a little bit, try to get him to steer right. And we were out there wade fishing, throwing artificials, little sea shad and stuff. And I hooked maybe a 10-inch trout. We had caught some snook and some red. And then I hooked like a 10-inch trout. I'm reeling this 10-inch trout, and like a 40-inch snook comes up and demolishes the 10-inch trout. And I'm fighting now this snook. And I thought I had a shot at it, but the hook never came out of the trout. So after a few seconds of fighting them, maybe 30 seconds of fighting the drag pulling and everything, all of a sudden, it came off. I reeled the trout in. So I still had the trout hook. He was just holding it.
And
But I like that. That's a good little area.
I want to make sure that we get all the fishing reports in today because last week we didn't get a chance.
Yeah.
So let's start.
Let's do this. If we could get Hulta, can you just rattle off who we have for reports?
Oh, I got it. I got it. We got you.
Oh, you got it?
I got you, me, Tony Franklin, Ken Burke, Michael Haynes, Mike Dawson, and one from Pam. Scotty said he sent one in, but I couldn't find it.
Last week's.
Did you see it?
It was on there from last week.
Did you? Is it still there?
Yeah, it should be. I seen it this afternoon.
Hulta, is it still there from last week?
Scotty Rose report from last week. It's still good. I'll tell you right now.
I didn't see it on my. Well, let's do this. Let's run Michael Dawson.
Run one, and I'll look.
Yeah, well, we look.
Hi guys, Captain Michael Dawson here of Patriotic Guide Service here with this week's fishing report. So we got another windy and cold Monday out here, but this front looks like it's going to be a nice short one. Back to warmer temperatures Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, so nothing too bad. Just got to deal with this Monday out here. Really breezy out there today, probably blowing 30. It's going to make this water a little dirty. So gotta look forward to a little dirty water fishing, but other than that, fishing has been absolutely great out there. Lots of trout still everywhere to be caught out there, whether it's the islands down south in St. Joseph Sound, Anclote Key, Gulf Harbors fish. There seems to be a trout a little bit about everywhere. Big white bait seem to be the key right now. A nice 5 to 6 inch white bait. Get out there. If you have a couple guys in the boat, fish them a few different ways. A bait with free line's been working some days. They're on a split shot. The next day they're on a bobber. Kind of fooling around with them and seeing how they're eating each day. Seems to be in a different part of the water column every day. So just get out there and try a few different things and you should get plenty of these fish. Bait is definitely key for these big trout right now. They were eating jigs very heavily about a week, 2 weeks ago. But now that the water temperature is above 70, they have switched over to full live bait diet again. Catching a few on jigs, but it's not as good as it was a few weeks ago. Bait can be caught at the Anclote Power Plant out there by Anclote Key, Gulf Harbors Flats, Fred Howard. Starting to show up a little bit everywhere. I know this front's going to kind of work things up a little bit, but they should be back to normal in a couple days. Redfish bite is firing off very well as well. We're taking a white bait, getting a nice 3-4 inch bait, something about yay big. Cutting the tail off and throwing on a nice little cigar bobber, something like one of these little guys here. And throwing the edge of the mangroves, let it drift down the mangroves, and these redfish can't resist it at all. Get out there, have a good time, stay safe, and Captain Michael Dawson, Patriotic Guide.
Well, thank you, Michael.
All right. Nice report.
There you
Good
go.
report, man. Good
Yeah.
little tips about the float. Sometimes, different areas have different little techniques that really, really make a difference. So I just forwarded Scotty's report from last week, which is still pertinent. Things haven't changed enough for him. So hopefully we can get that to go on there.
Now, how was the water temperature today, George?
Trying to remember what I saw now. It was the one area, because the wind was really whipping through there. God, it was a lot lower. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember the number now. Darn it.
I mean, Friday, it started around 69, 70, and it was about 74.
Well,
some of the areas that on the way back.
Saturday, I had 72. But this morning, in the morning, before it was really like the sun got up,
Well, it's going to be cold. It's going to be in the 45 tonight, 45 tomorrow night. Well, yeah, tomorrow night. And then actually, it's going to be kind of cold at night, but in the 40s, but it's going to get up in the 70s, close to the 80s by the end of the week.
Right. Yeah.
So
we're going to have 2 days that in the morning, it's like 50. Let's see something. Yeah, so Friday morning, is 50. Saturday morning is 56. Friday is the coldest day of the week, but we know in a week's time, besides today, today was the worst. I think it only got up to like 64 degrees today.
And what's Friday going to be?
Friday is going to be 50 in the morning in St. Pete area, Tampa, St. Pete area, and then 72 is the high.
Wow.
But the day before is 77. The day after is 77.
What's Friday going to be?
Friday is going to be 50 in the morning.
Okay. There you go. All right.
There.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, you know, one thing, the trout will still be around and the sheephead will be
Yeah.
around.
Yep.
As long as we can.
Today, I'll tell you what. Well, you know, I had newer. They weren't really sheephead fishermen, so we had probably about 5 or 6 shots at them. You know, where they picked the bait up and they just couldn't quite get them hooked. But the bite, even on the sheephead, was slow today. Got some trout and finished off with a snook. And I think, like Saturday, you know, those snook really, when it warmed up, those snook really got into like a 1.5 feet of water, just trying to get into that warmer water. And that's what was working, throwing your bait up into the shallows and just let it drift with the current.
Now, yeah, you know, last Wednesday, we nailed all those big sheephead. The same thing Friday. So I'm just hoping the they hang around for at least a couple more weeks.
Yeah, because they've been running good. Even inshore on the docks, some of them are still getting up into that 20 range, which is good for inshore. But I'm averaging, you know, inshore around the docks and stuff like that. Getting like between 14 to 18 inches pretty regularly.
Now, my people Friday, I had a corporate, 3 women and a guy from one of the corporate accounts, and they just wanted to have a good time. And the
Right.
weather was so pretty. Man, I tell you what, you'll see the pictures. They were screaming and yelling every time they hooked a big sheephead. I mean, you know, you think they were catching 50-inch snook. But, you know, again, sometimes we lose track of what people enjoy to do.
Well,
You know?
I agree with you. Today, they had 3 girls and 1 guy on the, you know, they had 1 dad on the boat, and their highlight, forget about the big snook the guy caught, their highlight was actually the 2 manatee that came up by the boat. You know, 2 manatee was.
That manatee or dolphin, you know, especially people that are from up north, they've only seen them on TV. To see especially when a manatee comes right up to the boat, sticks his nose out of the water and looking at you like saying, "Hey, I'm hungry," you know?
Right. I think this morning, now I'm thinking about it, this morning, I think I was seeing 65. I think I was seeing like 65-ish in the morning.
Well, in my house, it never got over 63 today in Wesley Chapel.
Yeah, by me it was 64, so pretty
All
similar.
day long, 61, 63, and the wind was just howling. And that's why, you know, I called your wife this afternoon and said, "Is he okay?" I was a little concerned about you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You know.
Yeah, this morning was a little hairy, and like I'm saying, if you don't have the experience, don't even, if you're doubting yourself at all, don't even think about doing it.
No, be smart. Be real smart. You know.
I'm, you know, not tooting my horn, I just got a lot of experience, and trust me, this morning was challenging, but man, I got some bait. It was unbelievable. My second throw, I almost couldn't pick it up.
Wow, that's good. So that means the greenbacks are in the bay. They're just deep water.
Any minute.
As soon as this weather warms up for about 3 or 4 or 5 days, they'll be on the flats then.
Yeah, any minute. I'm telling you.
Well, let's see. Let's get Tony Franklin's report in.
Okay.
Hi, Captain Tony Franklin back once again with this week's fishing report. We're going to jump into the fishing report here in a second. The weather has been a little bit up and down. We get some cool mornings, then it warms up a little bit, then we'll get another cool morning, and that pattern is going to stay this way for the next few weeks, looks like. So anyway, we're still fishing shrimp right now. We are fishing bait fish sometimes, depending on the day or how tough it is to get the bait fish. The trout bite, as I've talked about in the past weeks, has really been good. This week we've caught some larger trout, some nice trout. Got quite a few large ones this week. Got trout action's been fantastic. It's been fantastic all winter, so that's been really, really good. This week we've caught some pompano. We've had good action with silver trout, and I was talking about the spotted sea trout earlier that we had great action with. There's been some bonnethead sharks around once again. Great action. The pompano bite really picked up this week on shrimp. So we caught quite a few of those this week. It was a good week for the pompano. We caught a few redfish. The snook bite's been a little bit slow because the water temperature's up and down. But overall, the fishing's been fantastic. Weather's going to stay nice, so it's going to be a good time to get out on the water. Catch some fish, tight lines. I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Tony, as always.
Tony. And he just reminded me some of my stuff. He even mentioned it last week. I think it was Saturday. Saturday, I had a double, and we started catching. We weren't fishing for them. We were fishing for regular speckled trout. We started getting some really big, like 14 and a half inch silver trout.
I love those things, man.
When
To me,
they're
they're
that
better
big-
tasting than speckled trout.
Well, and when they're that big, they got some meat on them. They're thick.
Oh no, their meat is, they got about twice as much meat, size per size,
Right.
on the fish.
Right.
Because their side, when you fillet one, man, just a little 14 inch, it's got an inch thick fillet, where a speckled trout, it's got nothing.
And what's funny is the guy thought he had, because of the size, he goes, "Oh, I got a small speckled trout." Then when he got it in, I was like, "No." I said, "You actually have a large silver trout." Because 14 and a half inches for silver trout, that's a good size.
It's really good.
But,
Now, what about, we've had so much windy weather. This is the time of the year for black drum.
The black drum did show up. They were on them about a week ago, and then word got out. The very next day, I debated on going down there, and I decided, at the time I was really on a good snook and redfish bite. So I decided, you know what? I got a definite thing right now. I'm not going to chance it. I'm glad I didn't. That day, about 12 boats went out there, and nobody could find the school.
Oh,
And that hurts.
if it isn't calm, you can't see them.
All right.
Unless you just run. If it's rough, they're not on the sandbar, so they go into the deep canal. So then
Right.
all you can do is just go up and down till you see them on your sonar, and then try to fish them. But that makes it a lot harder.
And the thing is, I'm glad that my brain said, you know what, you're on a definite bite. Don't chance it. And granted, the day before, one day later, that can happen. That's what sometimes people don't understand. Yeah, we're guides. We know what we're doing, but
It
sometimes
still don't matter. The fish got tails and they move.
Yep, they can move. So there was 9 boats, because I talked to some of the guys that I know. There was 9 boats out there the day before, which I think was a Friday. I'm not sure. But every boat caught at least 2 or 3 of them, which is enough. Everybody got happy because you're holding this 30-pound, 40-pound fish. And then the very next day, 12 of them went down there, and some of the ones that caught them the day before, and they didn't get any.
Wow.
And that's 12 captains that know what they're doing, couldn't find them.
That's why if it's not nice weather where I can see them, because I like to catch
Right.
them on the sandbar. That's
Yeah.
where it's fun, because they can run all over the place, and
Yep.
you just follow them around until
And-
either they get wore out or your client gets wore out.
Right. And then, a lot of people don't realize, they show up down there, and a lot of times it can be February, and usually it's February. It just depends on the weather, but they will run. They'll be out there by the sandbar where we always see them, and then as they start moving into the bay, that sandbar that runs from all the way down there, basically all the way up to Gandy Bridge, if you think about it, they'll follow that sandbar, and then I'll tell you, once they hit like Gandy Bridge and then they start hitting Howard Franklin, then it's more predictable. You go out there with some blue crab, usually you'll get them.
Under Gandy Bridge and Howard Franklin, with all the construction,
They're still there,
they're still. I think it doesn't bother them.
yeah, which is amazing. And
Right.
you know how like right now there's a lot of construction going on. I mean, you see it everywhere right now. There's a lot of new docks being put in because of the hurricane, and the client I took out, he's a freshwater fisherman, and he was like, "I can't believe we're catching fish with them pounding pylons in because it was, it's loud,
Right.
and it's like
Yeah.
super loud." I'm like, "Yeah," she said, "Don't seem to be bothered by it."
Especially during mating season, they're too busy.
Yeah, right, right.
I think that's the problem, you know.
I'll tell you
Well,
though, in 2 days, like the one area I was fishing was really loaded. Like you could see them. You can only see them when they were just a couple of feet under the water. When they dove down, you couldn't see them at all. But and then today, boy, there wasn't that many. Either that or they were just all staying low.
well, probably because of all the wind, they were probably hugging the
Probably,
bottom.
probably.
I mean,
But
that's what I would think.
well, you want to run another one?
Yeah, let's run. Let's see. Let's run Ken Burt.
All right.
Hello, this is Captain Ken Burke with CaptainKenny'sFishingAdventures.com. This week, the fish have been biting good. I'm catching large sheephead on the artificial reefs using shrimp and fiddler crabs. Just use just enough weight to hold the bottom, and I'm using a 1/0 circle hook. Also catching some nice sized grunts right in the same areas that I'm catching the sheephead. Trout, redfish, and snook have been biting good up around the mangrove islands and through the cuts and in some of the back bays and stuff back there, using live greenbacks, or what some people call white bait, or scaled sardines. Live bait is doing the trick with the redfish and the snook. You can also catch a trout using artificials. My best go-to artificial is the Miradine in a chartreuse or lime color. So the weather's warming up, and we may only have a couple of small, or what I call light cold fronts coming through. But as spring is setting in, the bite has been good. So it's time to get out on the water and catch some fish. All right, everybody. Thanks.
All right, Ken. Thank
And
you.
thank you, buddy.
He's new. He's new at getting us the fishing report, but he'll get into the groove.
Yep, yep. It
And-
takes a
and
little bit.
Ken is a good fisherman, good captain. Known him for a lot of years. He's got a beautiful 22-foot Pathfinder. So, and he tries hard. He tries really hard. Now, George, what I can see, the water's getting cleaner. It was a lot cleaner in the bay last Wednesday, last Thursday, last Friday than it was the week before. Although we had some wind,
Yeah.
it looks like it is clearing up, though.
Well, unfortunately,
Not today.
today messed it all up again. Some of the shorelines that I've been fishing, it was actually pulling the soot maybe off the bottom on the shallow stuff and putting it into the water, and you could actually see it moving in the water. So that just went out the window, unfortunately. I had one area that, like I said, was holding sheep's head, and I think that is what got me, because if there's that much soot in the water, it's comparable to us trying to breathe in smoke.
That's
you know,
right.
so they're going to move. And there were some areas that wasn't like that, but some areas, man, I mean, it was really just that way that wind was blowing, the soot was just getting
Well,
into the
what
water.
it does, especially if, around areas where you got seawalls and stuff, and it bounces off that seawall. If the seawall's facing the open wind, it just stirs up the bottom.
Turns it up.
Yeah, and now it'll take it. It takes about 2 or 3 days of some decent weather
Right.
for it to start settling down. But we're still going to have some wind tomorrow.
Well, this
And-
area, you're right with the turning up, and that's how that happens against the seawall. This area was more of like a shoreline, and because the wind was coming from the shoreline out,
Uh-huh.
it was just pulling it into the water.
Huh.
It was terrible. You could actually, when I first came in there, before I guess maybe it hasn't blown long enough, there was almost a definite line of it coming at me.
Jesus.
Yeah, so it might take a little bit for that to clear out again. I don't know. Jessica just signed on. How you doing, Jessica?
Hello.
And Roger, we hope you get better soon, buddy.
Yep. Yep. All right, let's go. Let's see. Let's do Michael Haynes.
All right.
Good evening, Captain Mike Haynes, Fishbones Charters out of Crystal River, Florida. Well, had kind of a light week, had some family in town, been a little busy, but went out a couple days this week. One was Thursday, did a little scouting just because this weather system that was coming in, I wanted to make sure my clients for Saturday were going to have enough fish. And it was very productive scouting day. Found a lot of red sight fishing, basically on the low tide. Seemed to be a little more concentrated in certain areas with the mullet, and we were able to sight fish them. And on Thursday, they were definitely keen in on mud minnows. It's one of the baits that we tend to use around here quite a bit. And no matter if it was cut bait, shrimp, or anything else, mud minnows seem to be the trick. Now, also on Thursday, we caught trout. Trout were in the high tide.
Perfect.
Back up in between the mangroves on the flats. Again, pitch and jig with the white and chartreuse or silver and chartreuse seem to be the key, that the one color that I'm keyed in on, and it's been producing for me quite well. Move on to Saturday. Everything changed. Thursday, we had nice calm winds, very nice day, sunny all day. Saturday, the winds kicked up quite a bit early in the morning, 15 to 20. They call 10 to 15, but they're really 15 to 20 out there on the water with nothing to stop it. And it was very, very rough out there for a while in the morning. The day calmed down a little bit, but morning time we had no water. Tide was supposed to be coming in. It was still going out, and the winds were howling. So we kind of went out to the flats, and I had the same idea as everybody else. There was a bunch of boats out there, including other captains. And because the wind was so strong, you really couldn't float across the flats like you needed to and really be productive in that. So, as most captains do, when the wind's really that tough and the water's really low, put the power poles down. And that's what we did. We put the power poles down, fished an area for about 15, 20 minutes, kind of fan casting around, catch a few trout. Once the bite kind of stopped, let those power poles, let the wind push you a little bit more, just about where your casting distance was, put the power poles down there, fan cast again, and catching a few more trout. I think we ended up with about 8 of our 10 limit on trout. Still needed a couple more, but by the time we got those, tide was coming in, and I really wanted to get into those redfish again in the low tide because it seems to be where they're feeding the most. Well, Saturday proved me wrong. Low tide, found the redfish, didn't want to eat. Had shrimp, had mud minnows, had cut bait, didn't want to do a thing. Went back to a school that I saw a couple of times during that day and still nothing. So, and this was clear water. So I decided, okay, they're not willing to eat here. I wonder if they're willing to eat dirty water. Well, still had a couple trout to hit to get their limit. Perfect. So we went to one of my trout spots when the tide was high. Caught that limit in less than 10 minutes. Caught the 2 other fish, and then we fished and caught about 10 more, just for fun. But went to the north of what we call north, near the Salt River area where the water's a little more stained. And there was a place that I know that usually holds redfish, so we went ahead and tried that. Sure as enough, as soon as we got there, put a shrimp on a jig, threw it out there, let it sit. Within 5 minutes, redfish hit. And after that, it was one right after the other. We got into redfish bite really well. So if you're not finding them in the clear water and you know that you've had them earlier, try to find a little more dirty water. Sometimes that makes the difference. They feel a little more comfortable. And they want to eat. And that's what seemed to be the ticket on Saturday, and had a really productive day for Saturday. So I'll be out on the water a couple times this week, probably 3 or 4 times this week. Got a busy week this next coming week. So this is Captain Mike Haynes, Fishbones Charters out of Crystal River. We'll have a report for you next week. Have a good night.
And Georgie, he looks tired.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Trust me, I can understand that. I've been running pretty solid lately and double on Saturday. And
I know he's got a charter tomorrow because I had one of my clients wanted to go out of Crystal River, so I had Mike. He's taking him out.
yeah,
Because I said no, I ain't going to Crystal River. I am going next month to fish with him, but I ain't doing no charters where I
Right.
don't know the area. It's not
Right.
fair to the client, and it's not fair to my boat or me, especially Crystal River or any of those rivers up there.
and him talking about. I knew what he was going to say, that when he got into the dirty water that he was going to catch them. Because a lot of times, like when I use shrimp, and he probably does the same, like pinching off the tail for scent. And then when you get that, it doesn't have to be dirty, but just a little dirty, the water, it hides your leader. People, it makes a difference sometimes.
Yeah, they don't see because some of those fish, man, I'm telling you,
They're too smart.
They must have super good glasses or super good eyes.
That or they went to not only school, they went to college.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at trout, sometimes I've had to get down to 15-pound test leader, and because the trout are there, they wouldn't want to bite.
Huh.
So I don't know. Well, let's see. Let's get Scotty Rowe since we missed him last week. Did Hota
All
get
right.
him?
I hope so. I sent it. Well, that was quick.
Well, we got him anyway. And
Oh, Scotty, we're showing off your pictures. For some reason, we can't get your
sound.
sound. We're trying.
We tried. So let's get. What was that?
I don't know. I think Holta's playing games with us.
Uh-oh. Hota. All right, Hota, let's put Pam on. Let's get that one. Make sure that we cover everybody.
Hi everyone, it's Pam from Tampa Fishing Outfitters, and I want to thank everybody for their well wishes for Dave. He's doing great and he's back out on the golf course. I was in Jacksonville this weekend and the bite was incredible, both trout and redfish. Speaking of trout, I got my personal PB, a 29-inch trout on artificials. Barely got her into the net before the hook dropped out. When I tell you, she tugged and pulled and dragged my kayak around. Redfish bite was equally as good. Most of my fish were over slot. I had a lot of 29s, a lot of 28s, a couple of 30s. Really was a great day. And those fish up there are strong. What did I catch it all on? I caught it on, it's called a K-tail. And there's a picture of it right there. So I'm wishing everybody tight lines and have a great weekend. Oh my goodness, you're saying, Pam, this is a redfish without a spot. No, my friends, this is a Florida trout. Look at the size of this. Oh my gosh. Look at the girth on her. Woo! I'm so excited. Let me get her back in the water. Okay, yesterday was a 29-inch trout, and today oh yeah. My old IFA friends, I'd be killing it. And in Jacksonville, been fishing all day. This is my first legal fish. Nice, right? Find him tomorrow.
Somehow we
Scotty,
messed
we
up.
tried.
We gave it a try. That was a pretty nice sized trout there,
Yeah,
George?
yeah, it was. That was a nice one.
Yeah.
You don't see them too big like that too often
No,
anymore.
you know, if way back when I was young, what was it on the East Coast? Man, around where they send the rockets up, that whole area, they were known for
Yeah,
30-inch trout,
Yep.
on a regular basis. Well, even Tampa Bay had some big trout.
yeah. I've gotten 4. I've caught 2 myself, and I've had 2 clients that have caught trout over 30 inches here. But that's in like a 42-year span of time. You know, so where Titusville over there, that was a regular occurrence. that you
The
could
regular
do.
occurrence. Yeah, my biggest was 29 and a half. And that
Mine
was
30
about 6-7 years ago.
Mine was 33 and a quarter. And the worst part was that was my biggest one ever. And I didn't get to enjoy the fight because I was grouper fishing. I was grouper fishing off of Renington Pier, and I was in a boat, 15 feet of water. There was some rocky area that's close to shore right there, and I had a 3-aught setup that I was using, and I think it was maybe 30-pound test or something like that. And I got the bite. I set the hook, and I was like, "What the heck do I got?" So I reeled it right in, and it was a 33.5-inch trout. But I didn't get to enjoy the fight because I had it on that kind
Heavy
of tackle.
tackle, yeah. Hey, but at least you got them.
Yeah. And then the other one I caught was actually at the Skyway across from the rest area on the flats in there, right, but in the deeper flats. And that one I did get to enjoy. That one I was actually, again, fishing for grouper. That's kind of funny. I had a 6-inch threadfin on. A 6-inch threadfin fishing for grouper. And I think it was like a 31-inch trout.
And that's.
So, something
I
else.
hope you got some good pictures of them.
I do. I
And,
got one client. I forget what hers was. I think it was 31 inches, but they didn't understand. I was on the boat. At first I thought she had a red because it was pulling drag and it was fighting like a red. When those trout get big like that, they fight like a redfish.
Yeah.
But their mouths are really weak. So you got to watch that you don't horse them because they have enough weight that the hook will pull. So I'm telling the girl, be easy. And they couldn't understand my excitement. And then when I finally got it in the net, and she's like, and I tried to talk them at, because you were allowed to keep one trophy trout. And I was like, yeah, this one makes more. You really shouldn't keep it. And, oh, we're just going to keep one. And it's going to be that one. I was like, all right, which stunk. I hated doing it. So then what happened was, because it had the ice on top of it, this is a big trout. Well, with the ice on top of it, it flattens it out. So when we got back to the dock, I took a picture of her. The trout looks this tall because it squished it this way.
Oh, Jesus.
So it looks funny. It looks like the fattest trout in the world.
Well, let's see. Let me get mine in, then we'll get yours.
All right.
So we don't run out of time. I'm going to stalk while we show some pictures.
Sure.
Hey guys, this is Captain George Hastic of Fish Hunter Fishing Charters coming to you from St. Petersburg, Florida. Well, right now, the snook bite, you can definitely get some snook. You're going to have to work a little bit, but if you've got the whitebait, which I've been running with every day now, they're really loving the whitebait. The redfish right now have switched over to whitebait also, for me at least in my area, and it depends on where you're fishing. Right now, I've been doing a lot of sheep's head and trout fishing. People are wanting stuff to eat, and with these cold fronts, the sheep's head and trout have been, feeding really good. So that's been a really good bite, kind of an easy bite for me. And then I'm mixing in some, a little bit of snook action to boot. Some of the places, actually, depending on where you're fishing, have a little more redfish, and they're still taking whitebait or cut bait. So it really depends on where you're fishing and what you're looking for. Right now, right now there's a lot of sheep's head on the docks and also on a lot of the rock piles out in the bay. But of course, with the winds we've been having, a few days that it's not windy, you can get out to those rock piles. But other than that, a lot of the smaller residential bridges, all your docks, basically, you just gotta go down the line and find a dock that's holding them. Some of the water clarity's not been that good, so sometimes you might have to throw a few casts and see if there's some sheep's head on it, because some of them you can't see the bottom right now because of the water clarity not being very good. I would run with both if you're going to do that. I would have shrimp and fiddler crabs if you can find them. Fiddler crabs are tough right now. I'm buying like 100 at a time and keeping them alive at home so I have them for my charters. But the shrimp will still work, but when they're being finicky, the fiddler crab will definitely be the ticket. The trout have actually switched a little more for me. I mean, I'm getting some on jig heads, soft plastics, where it was neck and neck. But right now, man, that live whitebait flashing down there in the water is actually catching 2/3 of them now compared to before it was 50-50. And then look for, about 3 to 6 feet of water. It just depends. You got a real nice, warm, hot day, go a little shallower. That's where they're going to move to get warm, including the snook. Your snook, when it gets real nice and warm, especially in the afternoons, they're going to be up shallow in that 2 feet or less. Some of your larger ones will maybe be in a little bit deeper water, but when it warms up, they come out onto that flat. That warmer water is definitely attracting them. Get to an area where the water flow is good so your bait can actually sweep into the area and look real natural, and that really excites them and gives you a good hit. They are under the mangroves also, but when that sun really kicks up, they are roaming a little bit on those flats, and you'll see them, especially if you get a flat that's got a lot of sand with sparse grass in between. It's real easy to see them. So, and then you don't want to cast right on top of their head. You want to cast in front of the direction where they're going so they can kind of intercept it. If the current is actually going towards them, you can cast up current and let it sweep down to them. That's really a good tactic. All right, this has been Captain George Hastic. Have a good day.
All right, thank you, George. And Hota, you going to try to show my pictures? I hate to kill them, but they wanted some sheephead to eat, so.
And they're good eating.
They each kept a couple. I told them that's it. I said, I don't want to kill anymore. And but I mean, you could tell they were all nice fish. Yeah. And every one of the ladies got their share of fish. And actually, the Ken was the slow guy at the beginning, but then he caught up. Now, see that one? Look at the size of that sucker. I mean, these things were beautiful. Yeah, nice size one. They said, we never really fished for sheephead. We've always fished like snook and red. This is really fun. It's different. And of course, we were catching them on the regular redfish and snook rods in 14, 16 feet of water. And, those things, man, they fight you in that deep water.
People don't realize you get a 20, 22-inch sheep's head, it feels like you're fighting a grouper.
Yeah. I mean, that's what these things were like. I mean, they just gave us one heck of a good fight. They had a super time. And, just a couple of days before, we were out there filming and we caught a whole bunch of sheephead that way. I mean, really nice ones. So,
right.
And I want to make sure we covered everybody. I didn't want to leave nobody off.
Yep. We try to do our best to make sure that we always get these reports on. Well, that's like the other day. Towards the end of last week, we were fishing a dock for sheep's head, and we were catching them like 14 to 17 inches was the norm. And then all of a sudden, the lady hooked one, and it was 20 inches, and she was doing hooting and hollering, trying to get this fish away from the dock. It's a big difference when you hit a 20.
Yeah,
when you get 20 and over,
they can give you a fight because you look at their body. I mean, these are big females. Remember, these are big females, and when they get over 20 inches, they got a lot of power.
Oh yeah, they got a lot of power. Their tail is very wide, and then their body. When you get into 20 and over,
it's almost like a jack.
So tall. It's so tall that when they go sideways, they really have a lot of fighting power.
So it's just like a jack. They can really pull. Well, I wish I could say the forecast looks really good this week, but it really doesn't. I mean, you can go out and try if you want to be careful. And
Wednesday is. If you can only pick one day during this week, Wednesday is going to be the nicest day.
Yeah, because the rest of the week is going to suck. Period.
The rest of the week is going to make me work.
And then the weekend is going to be not that good.
No.
I think Saturday is going to be really bad again.
It stinks because I'm booked Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah. Well,
so again, I'm going to have this weather to deal with.
I got Friday, so I'm hoping that it's good.
Yeah.
and I guess that's going to be about it. We'll be on the air next week, but then we'll be off the air for 2 weeks. Hota's got to take his vacation time, I guess.
So
It's goof off time.
just a reminder. So it's Monday the 31st and April 7th that we will not have a podcast.
Right. And if you got anybody that's got young kids, I'm starting to get the calls in. If you want to register them for June 7th, Picnic Island, we're going to have a nice rod and reel combo, some tackle, hooks.
Right.
By the way, since last week, Four Horsemen sent me 110 packs of their shrimp, 200 pack.
Shrimp.
That's $8 a pack.
Yep.
And then
and that's a good shrimp. That worked good.
yeah. And then Saltwater Assassin sending us a pack of their soft baits for every kid. That's another $6. That
Right.
it don't look like a lot, but it's $600-700 from these small companies,
And
which is really nice of them to do that for us.
and we do. We really appreciate the companies helping out with that.
So if you got anybody in the family or you got kids, contact me. And the first 110 that register, we're guaranteeing them a rod and reel, tackle, and everything. And then we're going to feed everybody around 11:30, quarter to 12. The mayor, I talked to Jane. She's going to be there by 10 o'clock on Saturday. Spend a couple of hours with the kids and the parents and help us out. I know CCA is going to be there. FWC, Dylan Hubbard is going to be there. So we're going to have Donald is going to be there talking about how to fish with it. He's going to have his kayak there.
Right.
So
And that's just to make sure everybody knows that's June 7th.
that's a Saturday
Saturday, June 7th.
at Picnic Island Park. Michael Haynes is coming down to teach about scalloping. And I
Sergio,
hope,
why don't you put your post your email address?
yeah, let me do that.
And that way people can contact you for the it's Kids Clinic, June 7th, Saturday. at
And it's all
Picnic
free.
Island.
All free.
Picnic Island, yep, free.
We just want to get the kids off the
Hooked on
computer,
fishing.
off the streets, and doing something constructive. There you go.
Yep.
You can just send me an email. I can send you what I need, and then we'll get you all hooked up.
And we really appreciate everybody that subscribed, everybody that's helped, spread the word about the show.
Yeah, and I think did we broke 35,000 subscribers.
I don't know. Last time I looked at it, it was like so close. I didn't know if we
Yeah,
got
in
it
fact,
yet or
let
not.
me look really quick. I just want to, because I want to say thank you very much for everybody, and let's see what we're at. Let's see here. Oops. Yep.
Excuse me.
Oop.
I know it's close.
Yeah, we got 35,200 and something
Yeah, it
subscribers.
was close last time I looked.
Yep. So we're doing very, very good. Thank you very much. Hopefully, we'll hit that 50,000 mark by the summer. Boy, that would be
Roger.
so good.
Roger says saltwater assassin are his number one. I'm telling you what, I've caught more snook, trout, redfish, cobia. I mean, the small tarpon. Really, there's not any
Well,
color that you need or want that fits your area. They have.
yeah. And you know what, George, you and I have talked about this a lot of times. Anytime you can support a local or a smaller company, it's like
Family.
that's a family thing. They're in Mayo, Florida, Four Horsemen's in Louisiana, but the guy's a captain, and this is his little company. And he's actually, he started with nothing, and he's really grown it. I mean, Walmart's got his floats now. I see his floats in all the Walmart
all the
stores.
time. Yep.
So, I try to support local and small companies anytime I can, because we're a small company and we like for people to be able to support us. The big guys, hey, nothing wrong with the big companies, don't get me wrong. But I think anytime that I can support somebody local and individually own a smaller company, I'd rather do that. That's just my choice, So again, we want to say thank you for watching us. Tell all your friends about us. And George and I are looking forward to seeing everybody June 7th at Picnic Island Park. We're going to have a great time. And if you
Yep.
want to volunteer, we can always use volunteers.
And you know, last year there was, I think, a half a dozen redfish caught on
Yeah,
the shoreline.
but by kids, because Candy Bait and Tackle donates the shrimp. They'll have the rods and reels. I know that Lee Fisher's donating a package of hooks this year. I think it's 7 or 8 hooks in a package. And again, it's 110, 120 packages, but the $3 is something retail.
Sure.
So, that's
Adds
300 or
up.
400. Yeah. And all
Adds
this is
up.
donated, which helps us to keep our costs down so we can, pay for the food for the kids and all that.
A little tip: since we're supplying you shrimp can be stinky. If everybody would bring their own little towel, trust me, you'll love having a towel to wipe your hands
Or
off.
some little wipes, little package of wipes.
Something.
It ain't going to hurt, believe me.
Yep. But
All right,
I guess
guys.
we're done.
We're
We
done.
are
Thank
done.
you. Have a
It's
good
a
day.
wrap.
We'll see you next week.
Have a
Talk
good
to you
one.
tomorrow, George.
All right, buddy.
Bye.